Hello and a very warm welcome to Front Page, only on the AIM Network, India's definitive media organization and voice on everything AI and technology. Truly a pleasure to have you all with us. But before we get along with the headlines and what lies ahead in terms of the stories, here is something very important for me to share with you, which is the fact that Cypher, India's biggest AI summit and expo, is back in its 10th edition. It shall take place in October of this year. The venue is KTPO, Bengaluru. And if you're very serious about your AI and tech, well, I'm pretty sure you will be there because it's bigger than ever at Cypher 2026. And now, here are the headlines. Karnataka has approved 55 new industrial projects worth 7,506 crore rupees, targeting over 28,000 jobs. With 41 projects situated outside Bengaluru, the state is aggressively decentralizing its industrial landscape to drive regional economic prosperity. Google has reportedly capped Meta's Gemini usage after demand outpaced available capacity, exposing the growing infrastructure crunch behind the AI boom. The Gujarat government, IBM, and the Indian AI research organization, IAIRO, have partnered to establish an industrial AI center of excellence. This living lab aims to advance sovereign AI across India's industrial sectors. Meta's new Brain-to-QWERTY V2 AI will decode human thoughts directly into text with up to 78% accuracy, completely eliminating the need for invasive brain surgery or Elon Musk's Neuralink skull implants. Our tech journalist Ajay Rag will be, of course, joining me for an exclusive conversation to reveal how a dangerous mix of heavy US revenue dependence and imminent AI deflation will disrupt the foundational business models of India's biggest IT giants. Will it be a wait-and-watch theory, or will it be something else? Stay tuned for that very interesting conversation. Karnataka is reinforcing its position as a powerhouse for industrial growth. The state government has cleared a massive wave of development, approving 55 new industrial projects totaling 7,506 crore rupees. Now, if that kind of industrial momentum is the kind of story you want more of, please like, share, subscribe, and thank you so much for doing so. Now, these projects are expected to generate over 28,000 new jobs, spanning sectors from electronics manufacturing and aerospace to advanced industrial infrastructure. Perhaps the most significant takeaway of this announcement is actually the geography. 41 out of these 55 projects are located outside the Bengaluru urban and rural districts. This, by the way, is a deliberate strategic push to spread economic prosperity across the state. It could be a huge momentum transforming districts like Chamarajanagar, Dodda-Ballapur and Vijaypura into new industrial hubs. The investment landscape is quite diverse and high value. Kaynes Electronics is leading the charge with 495 crore rupees in Chamarajanagar. SFO Technologies is bringing 490 crore rupees to Dodda-Ballapur. Terra Circuits is setting up a 441 crore rupees project in Vijaypura. Orbit Industrial Park has stacked up 455 crore rupees in Kolar. And Bellatrix Aerospace is investing 404 crore rupees in Bengaluru rural. Now, beyond these giants, the state also approved 4 major foreign direct investment proposals worth over 314 crore rupees from Taiwan, South Korea, Germany, and Japan. Now, this alone will create hundreds of new jobs. Now, to understand this further and deeper, the initiative is built on 4 core industrial pillars, primarily electronics and semiconductor manufacturing, where the focus is on building complex supply chains. Now, at number 2, aerospace and defense, which strengthens the state's precision engineering capabilities. Comes in at number 3 is industrial parks for developing the infrastructure needed for large-scale operations. And finally, at number 4, we have advanced manufacturing, pushing high-value automation-based engineering. And now, of course, for the front page take. Now, for quite some time, the story of Karnataka's growth has been synonymous with Bengaluru, and why not? But this latest announcement marks a very pivotal shift. By prioritizing 35 projects with investments exceeding 50 crore rupees each and placing the vast majority of them in Tier 2 and Tier 3 regions, the state is rewriting its industrial map. It is, I believe, a blueprint for equitable growth, ensuring that the next wave of India's high-tech manufacturing is powered by the entire state, not just its capital. But when we dig deeper, I want to ask you this. Is this decentralization the key to Karnataka's future dominance? Well, maybe hopefully the answer is something that you will be able to furnish in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. Back in 2023, Meta and Google were betting on two very different futures. Meta believed open models would change AI. Google believed the winners would be the companies with the deepest research labs, the biggest data centers, and of course the most computing power. Now, for a while, they competed. Llama versus Gemini, open versus closed, Zuckerberg versus DeepMind, and then something unexpected came to light. Meta became one of Gemini's biggest customers. Not for a public product or a flashy partnership, for the everyday work happening inside Meta itself. Safety systems, coding workflows, customer support, advertising tools. Now, that relationship has run into troubled waters. According to reports, Meta wanted more Gemini capacity. Google couldn't provide it. Now, if the rivalry that just became a dependency is the kind of story that gets you thinking, please, I request you, like, share, and subscribe. And thank you so much for doing so. Google has reportedly placed limits on Meta's use of Gemini after the social media giant sought out more capacity than Google could provide. The restrictions began around March and remain in place, according to people familiar with the matter. The impact has been significant enough to delay some internal Meta AI projects. Meta has also reportedly encouraged employees to become more disciplined about token usage, a notable shift for a company that has spent the past year aggressively expanding its AI ambitions. Now, at first glance, this might sound like a dispute between two technology giants. It isn't. We are sure a lot of you might be wondering, why was Meta using Gemini in the first place? Well, that's the obvious question. After all, Meta has Llama. It has world-class AI researchers. It has spent billions building its own models. It was also touted as the Linux moment in AI for few days. So why rely on Gemini? Well, the answer appears to be, well, performance. According to the report, Meta had been using Gemini across a variety of internal systems because it performed particularly well on specific tasks. Content moderation, for example, safety operations, customer service tools, advertising assistance, internal coding workflows. Now, in other words, despite building some of the world's most capable open models, Meta still found value in using a competitor's technology. That alone says something about how AI is evolving. Now, the biggest AI companies are no longer operating in isolation. Increasingly, progressively, they depend on one another. But the bigger takeaway is what happened next. Meta wanted more. Google couldn't deliver it. That sounds surprising until, well, when we start to look at what has been happening across the industry. Now, only earlier this year, Sundar Pichai told investors that Google Cloud could have generated even more revenue if the company had enough capacity available to it. Demand was there. Customers, contracts were all there. But infrastructure was the constraint. Google's cloud backlog has surged. AI adoption continues to accelerate, and every new chatbot, coding assistant, enterprise agent, and AI workflow requires resources to run. The industry has spent years talking about training models. Now the challenge is actually to serve them, and that too at scale and every day for millions of users. This also, by the way, explains the extraordinary spending we are seeing across Silicon Valley. Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Anthropic, and of course OpenAI, everyone is spending at levels that would have sounded absurd just a few years ago. new data centers, power agreements, GPU clusters, and new infrastructure partnerships. Now, according to reports, Google recently has signed a deal worth roughly $920 million per month to secure additional compute capacity linked to SpaceX. Nearly $1 billion every month. Not just for a new model or an acquisition, but for sheer capacity. That should actually convey loud and clear where the bottleneck truly lies. Now, of course, here's the time for the front page take. Now, for Meta, this episode reinforces something Mark Zuckerberg has been highlighting for months. Owning the model is not enough. One needs to own the infrastructure behind it. The company has already committed hundreds of billions of dollars toward AI infrastructure, talent, and data center expansion. It has also reportedly started to prioritize its newer Muse Spark model for more internal workloads. Partly because, well, it has improved significantly, and partly because relying on someone else's model always comes with a risk. Well, this is the first time we've seen this dynamic. Countries worry about dependence on foreign energy. Manufacturers worry about dependence on foreign chips. Now, AI companies are discovering what dependence looks like in their very own industry. Please do let us know what are your thoughts in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the IIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. Now, the Gujarat government, the India AI Research Organization, and IBM have announced plans to establish an industrial artificial intelligence center of excellence in Gujarat, designed as a full-scale transformation hub for India's industrial future. Now, if the intersection of government, research, and enterprise AI is where you think the real story is, well, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much. The proposed center of excellence will focus on advancing the application of AI across asset-intensive industries such as manufacturing, energy, utilities, and supply chains. It is envisioned as a living lab, like a space where industrial AI solutions are actively tested and deployed in real-world environments. The goal is to support indigenous sovereign AI technologies. The initiative aligns closely with Gujarat's ambition to position itself as a leading destination for industrial AI. The state is looking to build a long-term ecosystem rather than, well, isolated technology projects. And this is where actually the scale of the plan becomes quite significant. The Industrial AI COE is expected to go far beyond research and software development. It will actively build an ecosystem through pilot projects, technology demonstrations, conferences, and stakeholder engagements. The idea is basically to connect industry, academia, startups, and government into a single collaborative network. A major pillar of the initiative is talent development, and rightly so. The center will focus on creating a workforce capable of real-world deployment. As part of the collaboration, IBM will serve as technical and strategic advisor to the Department of Science and Technology, Government of Gujarat, highlighting the importance of combining research with industrial deployment. Amit Seth, who is the founding director of the India AI Research Organization, said, Gujarat's industrial leadership provides a strong foundation for indigenous innovation to nurture world-class talent and translate frontier research into real-world impact. Now, emphasizing the need for enterprise-ready AI, Sriram Raghavan, General Manager of IBM Software India and Software Innovation Lab, said this opportunity requires access to historical data, enterprise-ready platforms, governance, and ecosystem partnerships. Now, collaborating with the government of Gujarat and IAIRO would help create a platform that fosters innovation and accelerates the adoption of sovereign AI technologies. And here, of course, is the front page take. Now, the announcement comes at a time when Indian states are, well, progressively investing in AI infrastructure and innovation ecosystems. The broader goal is to drive industrial competitiveness. It could position, of course, India as a global hub for next generation technologies. And in that larger race for AI leadership, Gujarat is now placing a strategic bet of building an entire industrial AI ecosystem from ground up. India's AI story is no longer limited to research labs or, for that matter, software exports. Which leaves, well, us all with a very crucial question, which is this. Would the next phase of AI in India not just be about intelligence in the cloud? Could it shift towards intelligence powering the real economy on the ground? Please do let us know. What are your thoughts in the comments below? This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. A helmet, artificial intelligence, and our thoughts. No implants, surgery, and no chip inside our skulls. Meta has announced Brain 2 QWERTY V2, the highest performing, non-invasive brain-to-text system ever built. The same company, by the way, that spent years insisting it does not listen to our conversations, has now built something that reads our brain activity instead. Now, Instagram already knew we wanted a holiday before, well, we booked the flights. Now, Meta would like to skip the part where we even think about it. Zuckerberg is not reading our private thoughts, or at least not yet. And if that last sentence did not, well, quite reassure you, I would request you to like, share, and subscribe, because at least that's something which we could do together as a collective thought. No pun intended. I thank you for that. Anyway, Meta has unveiled Brain 2 QWERTY V2, an AI system capable of converting brain activity into text without requiring surgery or implanted electrodes. The research represents a major leap forward in brain-computer interfaces. Now, for quite some time, scientists have known that it is possible to decode language from brain activity. The challenge has always been accuracy, and more importantly, accessibility. The most successful systems typically require electrodes to be implanted directly inside the brain, which means surgery, cost, risk, and limited scalability. Meta wanted to try something different. So instead of putting hardware inside the human skull, the company built a system that works entirely from outside of, well, said skull. The result is Brain 2 QWERTY V2, a system that can reconstruct complete sentences directly from neural activity. The headline number is quite impressive. Previous non-invasive approaches typically achieved around 8% word accuracy. Brain 2 QWERTY V2 reached an average word accuracy of 61%. Now, for the best participant, accuracy climbed to 78%. More than half of all decoded sentences contained one word error or less. That's quite a dramatic improvement. And perhaps the most important part is what the numbers suggest. Now, for quite some time, the industry assumed there was a hard ceiling for non-invasive brain decoding. If one wanted serious performance, one needed surgery. Brain 2 QWERTY V2 challenges that very assumption. Now, naturally, this raises comparisons with Elon Musk's Neuralink. Neuralink takes a fundamentally different approach. Now, instead of reading signals from outside of the head, Neuralink implants electrodes directly into the human brain, which provides much stronger signals and significantly higher precision. But it also requires surgery. Meta's system does not. And that's what makes this announcement so very interesting. Because for years, the industry largely viewed invasive approaches as the inevitable future. Now, Meta is showing that AI might be able to compensate for weaker signals by becoming dramatically better at decoding them. The immediate application is in gaming. It's not virtual reality, and thankfully it's not telepathy. It's actually healthcare. Wow. Millions of people around the world lose the ability to communicate because of conditions like ALS, stroke, paralysis, or traumatic brain injury. Many can still think, yes, they simply cannot express those thoughts. Current brain-computer interface solutions can definitely help, but they often require invasive procedures. Meta believes a non-invasive approach could eventually help millions more. Yes, it can. And if that becomes a reality, the impact could be enormous. Now, for the first time, people who cannot speak may be able to communicate using thought alone. Now, what's fascinating is that this didn't come more from, let's say, a medical device company. It came from Meta, the company behind Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Llama. Most people know Meta for social media and AI models, but behind the scenes, it has been very quietly investing in neuroscience for years. Brain to QWERTY is part of a broader initiative called the Digital Brain Project. Meta is also developing systems like TriBev2, Neural Set, and Neural Bench. The goal appears to be far more ambitious than building just a communications tool. Meta wants foundational models of the brain. Now, in the same way large language models learn patterns in language, Meta is exploring whether AI can learn patterns in neural activity itself, which I feel is an extraordinarily difficult challenge. But today's announcement suggests, well, meaningful progress is starting to take place. Of course, whenever brain decoding enters the conversation, so does something which is pivotal. So there's something central: privacy. And let's be clear, brain to QWERTY is not reading our random thoughts, by the way. It cannot secretly monitor our mind. It requires specialized equipment, controlled condition, and extensive training data. But the direction of travel is honestly hard to ignore. Every year, these systems get better and better. Every year, they become more accurate. And as time progresses, the gap between research and real-world applications starts to, well, shorten, become smaller. That means society will eventually need to answer fairly difficult questions. And here are some of them. Who owns brain data? Who can access it? How should it be protected? What happens when thoughts become a new category of digital information? Now, those questions sound futuristic, but so did AI-generated videos just a few years ago. So I would like for us to probably weigh in, and definitely I would like to understand your thoughts in the comments below, especially for this particular story, because we are talking about thoughts that could actually get translated. It could give a new language to people who haven't spoken, who have been lying silent for so long. That's one very, very big upside. But the kind of cost it might come at is something which we need to weigh in on, as well a collective consciousness. Please do let us know. What are your thoughts in the comments below? This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the IIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM.
AI prototypes are everywhere, but very few professionals know how to deploy AI where businesses actually operate. Introducing the Certified Forward Deployed AI Specialist by Adasi, a certification designed for the new generation of AI professionals who can bridge technology, deployment, operations, and business execution in real-world enterprise environments. Because modern AI success is no longer just building models. It's about making AI work inside production systems, customer workflows, and enterprise operations. The future belongs to engineers who can take AI from demo to deployment. This certification is ideal for AI engineers, solutions architects, technical consultants, Gen AI practitioners, developers who want to move beyond experimentation and deploy AI systems that create measurable business impact. The future of AI belongs to professionals who can take intelligence from concept to real-world execution.
There are a lot of models available on Amazon. You can use any model. For this particular workshop, I'll go with Llama 3. It's the simplest, easiest, and in terms of cost, no problem. But yes, if you are an organization, you want to go and work, you can use Anthropic's Claude model. You can use any of these models. So this is the 2ml file. And what you need, all of you, is you can see there is a Docker file also created. There is a Pi project created. There is requirement, and this is the environment. So just this is the app where you have a Pi cache. So this is your cache. Init.py will not have anything, that is for initialization. This is your actual agent script. And then here you have got a README, which you can use automatically running in Docker, and these things come automatically. You can click on data store. You can click on the tool name. So this is tool 1. It's a data store. You can give the description. Now I'm going with the lowest score in terms of grounding. So we have low confidence that the response is grounded.
AI prototypes are everywhere, but very few professionals know how to deploy AI where businesses actually operate. Introducing the Certified Forward Deployed AI Specialist by Adasi, a certification designed for the new generation of AI professionals who can bridge technology, deployment, operations, and business execution in real-world enterprise environments. Because modern AI success is no longer just building models. It's about making AI work inside production systems, customer workflows, and enterprise operations. The future belongs to engineers who can take AI from demo to deployment. This certification is ideal for AI engineers, solutions architects, technical consultants, Gen AI practitioners, developers who want to move beyond experimentation and deploy AI systems that create measurable business impact. The future of AI belongs to professionals who can take intelligence from concept to real-world execution.
There are a lot of models available on Amazon. You can use any model. For this particular workshop, I'll go with Llama 3. It's the simplest, easiest, and in terms of cost, no problem. But yes, if you are an organization, you want to go and work, you can use Anthropic's Claude model. You can use any of these models. So this is the 2ml file. And what you need, all of you, is you can see there is a Docker file also created. There is a Py project created. There is requirement, and this is the environment. So this is the app where you have a Py cache. So this is your cache. Init.py will not have anything, that is for initialization. This is your actual agent script. And then here you have got a README, which you can use automatically running in Docker, and these things come automatically. You can click on data store. You can click on the tool name. So this is tool 1. It's a data store. You can give the description. Now I'm going with the lowest score in terms of grounding. So we have low confidence that the response is grounded.
So more than 60% of Indian IT's export revenues come from one country. And that share has not changed in a decade plus. Not meaningfully, for sure. Despite every major firm spending the past year announcing deals in Europe, the Gulf, Japan, and Australia. TCS has posted a record $40.7 billion in total contract value and $30 billion in annual revenue. Infosys grew Europe at double the company average. Hexaware put £25 million into the United Kingdom. The deal announcements, as you can probably gauge, are very real. But the revenue geography is, well, moving, just not fast enough to outrun the risk it is trying to hedge. And underneath the diversification story is a second pressure nobody truly is calling out loudly enough, which is AI deflation. HCL CEO called it a 3 to 5% revenue dip coming in just the next year. TCS's CEO called it degrowth. Indian IT is trying to find new customers in new countries while the billing model with its existing customers is being compressed by the same AI tools it is actually selling them. Ajay Rag is our tech journalist, a brilliant tech journalist at AIM, and he has written the piece that actually places both pressures in the very same sentence. And today he's here on Front Page to elaborate on that sentence and a lot more. Welcome to Front Page. How are you doing, Ajay?
I'm great. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful to have you with us on Front Page as always. Ajay, I would like to start with that, please.
Yeah.
As far as, the announcements, as I just mentioned, are very real, right? But are you seeing that shift take place practically on ground? And if not, why is it so difficult?
Yeah, I mean, it's happening in a very small scale, but like we know, I mean, for someone who has been seeing the IT story for decades, US has been such a huge market and all the buyers, all the clients are in the US.
Yeah.
I mean, when we talk about discretionary spending has been going down and everything, but US as a market has been very, very big for these companies to avoid. So while we say that these IT companies, let's say it's HCL Tech or Infosys or TCS, they have been actively, looking at diversifying their revenue into new geographies, let it be Europe or let it be places like Japan, or like Middle East or even India domestic. It can't really reach a state where US currently is. So while we talk about in the whole the administrative policies of Donald Trump, the US president, and how when it comes to H-1B visa issue or the whole policy uncertainties, there's a lot of concern from Indian IT firms, the top executives, that we have to do something about it. We cannot really rely on just one market all the time and then talk about how this market will sort of decide our future. So that is there. But having said that, you spoke about AI deflation and points like that.
I'm going to come to that.
Yeah. So, these concerns are there. So it's very important for markets. Also we're sitting on Tuesday now, and on Friday there was this acquisition of Nagarro by Persistent, which was another push by an Indian IT firm, especially a mid-tier IT firm, into Europe. Like as per the release, their Europe presence, Persistent's Europe presence is going from 9% to 22% just with this acquisition of Nagarro. So, broadly, there's a sense that, we have to broad base, we have to diversify revenue, but it's too big, like we talk about, right? It's too big of a market.
Fair enough. I see your point there, but Ajay, it just then kind of, harks back to the age-old theory of not having all your eggs in the same basket, right? But this is like a double-edged thing. For example, Indian IT, do you not think this is more a reactive sort of a method, which, well, logically so it should be, given the changes in policy, etc., all those things are happening. Do you not think that this should have started some time back? One is that, from the Indian IT's point of view, to diversify. That's one. Two, wouldn't the United States also have a lot at stake here? Because, let's face it, they also have Indian IT, which is a very robust ecosystem, which has been servicing them for more than a decade. So it's a hand-in-hand sort of a situation, right? So wouldn't the United States also like to look at it from a point of view of the fact that, okay, wait a minute, man, I'm going to lose a wonderful vendor of mine. So let me not be so aggressive in my policy changing.
Yeah, it's a very debatable topic, and we never know what's the administrative policies coming in. But wherever we were standing right now, the administrative policy is not really, helping Indian IT firms at the moment when it comes to the points that he spoke about. So, Indian US firms.
It's coming from a practical point, right?
Yeah, it makes sense, but we never know what's happening in their, administrative policies. So it's very hard to answer that question. But that's it.
But the fact is that the Indian IT's direction of moving away, not so much completely, because I think that will be impossible.
We cannot say that they're late to the party, because they have been trying to do this for a very long time. But at least right now we are seeing the results. So it's a positive sign, I feel.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And the fact that they need to accelerate that entire pace in a big way, which brings me to the bit about AI deflation as you mentioned. Now, the HCL CEO, Vijay Kumar, had warned of AI deflation, which is revenue dipping 3 to 5% as AI compresses billing, which I just mentioned right at the top. TCS CEO Krithivasan calls it degrowth. And then CEO Parekh, Infosys CEO Parekh, says he has seen it coming. Now, so is this the same kind of problem, or these are two different problems? The question I want to ask you is this: is Indian IT trying to find new geographies to replace probably all of the workload, the revenue for example, that AI is simultaneously compressing at its home base? So is it the same problem, or is it two different problems?
Yeah, these two are very distinct problems, but they're very much connected. Like when we talk about AI deflation, we have had this conversation multiple times about the billing model, like how people-based billing model has been there for decades in Indian IT firms. So what AI is doing that is that whatever productivity gains that AI is bringing to the table, this will result in reduction of billing hours, which means lower revenue for IT firms. We all know that. And what about this diversification is all about concentration risk. Like you mentioned about all eggs in one basket, they want to diversify and figure out new markets. But also it's that, the revenue per employee will go down after a point, that they have to reduce the headcount and they have to find out ways where they can generate more revenue other than, getting more people to work.
Agreed.
So they have to look at new geographies. Let's say geographies that have not really opened up for Indian IT firms. I mean, Europe has, but Europe is a very fragmented market when you look at it. It's not just one country, different countries, different regulations, things like that. So it's not very easy market to crack. I mean, if it was possible, they would have done it long back.
Agreed.
But now I think the policies are sort of opening up for Indian IT. I mean, broadly, cross-border, business to grow, and also markets like Japan or Middle East. They're like new, small. I think it's growing, and once we have this, whatever revenue offset is happening because of AI deflation will be sort of balanced offset with whatever new revenue they're getting from new geographies.
Tell me this, Ajay. I mean, a lot of these revenue saving, for example, if you were to say it, $100 million project probably now costs about 80 million because the influx of AI. Now a lot of customers are also wanting that revenue to be shared with them, right? So probably that's also in a way pushing this or motivating all of this in terms of the diversification, because they also have to justify in their internal costings if they have to pass it back on to the customer.
Yeah,
yes or no?
That kind of conversation has already started happening between customers and IT firms.
Correct.
So it's high time for them to sort of bring in these conversation into the revenue mix. Like they can't be taking all the revenue for themselves, whatever AI productivity gain that is happening. So now AI is not a differentiator. AI is not a revenue generator in a big sense because they have to pass it on.
Correct.
So now again, back to the drawing table, they have to figure out new avenues.
Ways and means of
revenue generation.
To justify all of this, right?
Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
then it comes down to this now. TCS has signed a 7-year, 550 million euro AI-led deal with Scandinavian insurer Trig.
Yeah.
Right? Then I have Hexaware, which is committed 25 million pounds and 1,200 jobs across Manchester, Leeds and Birmingham. Infosys grew Europe at double the company average in fiscal year 26. Now the question obviously then is very clear. Is Europe a genuine strategic priority now? One. And or overflow capacity for a US slowdown?
It can be both because, we spoke about how discretionary spending in the US has, gone for a toss right now. And these companies are looking for a new market. But like I said, Europe as a market, it's very hard to crack because
because of the regulations
and, different kind of governments, different kinds of choices of the people, policy makers. So it's very hard to make it, but I think it's changing. The whole AI regulation that has come into Europe and things like that. I think now Indian IT firms will start intensifying their focus on this market. Also keeping in mind that you cannot really get away with US. Like you have to focus on US also at the same time. But whatever spillover that is happening, I can't really say that it's a spillover because at least I feel like, at least a third of revenue generation that is happening in overall IT firms, I think at least a third will come from Europe going forward.
See, also, I was just wondering, since you talked about the fact that, and that was a very valid point, that different governments in different countries as far as Europe is concerned, how much of the fact that we've had a very solid, great, a very healthy relationship with the United States, which I feel purely from, let's say, the quality point of view, is something that we have maintained or probably even been better at doing in delivering. Do you think that will have some sort of ramification or a consequence when the European market starts to we try to crack that? Because I'm just coming from the simple point that the European players would probably think, good, they've set up a good precedence as far as a lot of the big giants in the United States is concerned. So from the quality point of view, we don't need to worry. From the cost point of view, I'm pretty sure that we are competitive. Do you think that kind of gives us an added edge?
It can actually, but it's too early to talk about it because we never know what's happening the next day. The geopolitical tensions might change, the administrative thought process might change. So whatever we're talking at this point, I feel like Europe has been a great market for Indian IT firms for the time being. And it's an alternative market when it comes to United States. So for the time being, I think it's going well for Indian IT firms focusing on Europe. But you never know, tomorrow
But these are positive developments, right, Ajay, that you had just mentioned. There was a recent acquisition, which means Europe is not closing its doors as far as Indian IT is concerned. They're more than happy, they're more than open to go in for collaborations like this. Do you feel that that will, in a big way, have some positive impact?
Yeah, it will have. It definitely will have. But I'm always been skeptical about things, so we will have to wait and watch. So, we'll see.
Then you talked about the fact that, you know, there is an expert methodology where you said that Europe is moving positively, but it is not as easy to crack.
Yeah.
Now, I'll bring in a quote by Mr. Gaurav Vasu of Unearthed Insights, who said this, and I quote, "Europe as a market will never replace the US because the size of it is over 60% of the 1.7 trillion industry." Now, that's a big one.
Yeah.
So, what is the realistic calling then for European revenues? Let's just stick to that, for example. And is the Gulf of Japan a more achievable near-term target as far as Indian IT is concerned? But then again, we know what is going on in the Gulf.
Yeah. No, I mean, like you mentioned, it's Europe. I mean, when you compare it to US, no other market is that big. But I mean, companies like Infosys has been very vocal. Even last quarterly results, or the CFO was talking highly about the Europe market, how much have they grown in that particular market. So I think right now IT firms are actively looking at Europe as a market, not just Europe, but yeah, Japan and all. It's like a very different market that you have to comply with the localization and things like that there. So yeah, I mean, it's very hard to crack, especially, you know, for an Indian IT firm, because the pricing also will significantly change. Like when you're selling into a US client, or when you're selling into a Japanese client, or like selling your services basically to a domestic client, it's very different. So all these metrics have to sort of, you know, get revised.
Pricing will obviously, I'm sure they would be very balanced in terms of their pricing factors. They would be very well aware that each market will obviously warrant a different pricing model.
Yeah.
So I don't think that is so much of a challenge. I think it is more about trying to crack into the market.
I mean, they've already cracked it. I mean, I think Infosys, I think more than 30% revenue comes from, if I'm not wrong, it's from Europe. So we cannot really crack it. Now it's about expanding that share, you know.
Yes,
like,
makes sense.
Yeah, like, but yeah, like Japan market or other, you know, Middle East market is yet still very small. But the whole sovereign, when you talk about Middle East also, the whole sovereign, you know, requirements and everything has been changing. Like even Middle East governments have been very supportive for not just IT firms, export, building, all these things. They're doing that, but still, whatever we talk about, it's a very huge needle to move. Like,
as far as the United States
like
and
from 60% to this 60%
point.
to like make it 40% or 35%. It's not possible, because that will disrupt the whole, especially at a time when Indian IT firms are, you know, facing
already
a lot
struggling.
of struggles. Yeah, so it's very hard.
So that means at this given point in time, majorly Ajay, it's a wait and watch situation, and you keep Indian IT needs to keep chipping away as far as the other markets is concerned, and not constantly keep pushing the United States, etc., but can't chip away at it, reduce the dependency. Is that what the strategy should be?
I feel like Indian IT firms should continue doing whatever doing with the US market, but at the same time they have to think about diversifying.
Maybe new projects need to go to other geographies.
Big deals are also happening. It's not that it's not happening, but Indian IT firms should always keep an eye out for other markets and not just focus on
the United States.
United States, yeah. But we'll see.
Fair enough. The GCC aspect.
Yeah.
Now, this seems to be almost like in a way, there's an overlap. And I want you to please clarify this. The GCC story we've covered, extensively, and we're going to continue to cover it on front page. Now, Meta, Amazon, Google, Microsoft added 32,000 Indian jobs directly in 2025.
Yeah.
Okay. American companies are hiring Indian talent through captive centers, while Indian IT is trying to, find American clients elsewhere. So there's a weird dichotomy, right? That's what I want to ask you. Are GCCs and Indian IT running in opposite directions? That's one. Mm-hmm. Or does that represent a structural threat to the services model in terms of that geography alone cannot fix?
Yeah, I mean, the growth of GCCs has been a problem for Indian IT firms, and I've only written about how Indian IT firms are looking at the GCC opportunity to expand their offering in that space because they want to get that pie. But at the same time, GCCs, I mean, the whole point is that, these large firms don't want to outsource the critical infrastructure. They want to do it themselves. So they build a whatever office here. But the point is that, still GCCs need partnership from Indian IT firms. Like let's say when we look at implementation, platform integration, or, cybersecurity aspects or whole transformation programs, you always need an Indian IT firm because of the whole, understanding ecosystem that they have. But like we're talking about it, I think it will significantly change going forward. But whatever is happening right now, GCCs really need Indian IT firms or this kind of transformation outsourcing partners. But going forward, that will significantly change, which is why Indian IT firms are looking at new aspects of business when it comes to partnering with larger frontier AI firms or diversifying into new geographies. This is all these activities are being done for the same. Like don't focus on just one revenue bucket and then once that gets disrupted, you will be in trouble. So they're looking at new avenues in all these aspects.
It's interesting you mentioned that because at MachineCon this time around, I had a conversation with Mr. Harpreet Duggal, who is the senior advisor at Genpact.
Yeah.
And he talked about the fact that it might actually move into a hybrid version. Probably that's exactly what you're talking about. When it comes to GCCs and Indian IT firms, in terms of maybe a hybrid version moving forward.
Yeah.
Probably that's what you're alluding to.
Something that we can actually expect something like that because, how GCCs are operating right now and how IT firms are operating, we can actually see a hybrid model where they co-work together. Yeah.
Frontier AI models, that's what you talked about.
Yeah.
Which then, of course, I would like to bring your attention to the fact that Wipro's Cloud Center of Excellence, right, that's taken place, 10,000 specialists being trained to deploy AI inside enterprise clients. Now, that's a big one, right? Because that's where, honestly, the heart of the Indian IT services legacy lies.
Yeah.
Right? So, is Indian IT's AI bet, which is being the world's best AI deployment and integration partner, a durable business model, Ajay? Or is it a bridge which is pointing to somewhere else? Let's say 3 years down the line, 4 years down the line. How do you see that kind of going through a change?
Yeah, for the time being, I think the business model is durable because everyone has access, all enterprises have access to AI models. But integrating into your workflow, it's a big of a task.
Sure.
Like people have been talking about pilots and how it will lead to. Now we are sitting at a phase where we are talking about real world, deployment of these kind of AI services or AI solutions. So right now, this business model of Indian IT firms is durable. But when you ask me 3 or 5 years down the line, that will significantly change because AI models will start getting simpler and simpler that people can
deploy them on their
themselves.
Own?
And they don't need a help from these kind of outsourcing partners or implementation partners. And that is when the whole expertise of Indian IT firms will be started
to be challenged
or questioned. So that is when we will see a new avatar of Indian IT firms where they will not even be doing whatever they're doing right now. They will be significantly changed to a different business model altogether. And also the whole pricing model will also change to to outcome-based pricing, or someone was telling me not even outcome-based pricing. The pricing will be based on how much AI compute they use.
Oh, right. Fair.
It can change significantly. So everyone is unsure about what's going to happen. But something that is sure right now is that whatever avatar that we are seeing Infosys or TCS or Wipro right now will not be the same 5 or 10 years down the line.
With these collaborations with, let's say, an Anthropic or an OpenAI.
This will significantly change.
So right now you feel this is more like a transitionary advantage in a way that Indian IT is taking with these collaborations that they want to use maybe the next 2-3 years as a runway to add something to their bouquet of revenue by saying, okay, we can help you with our network and legacy and trust that we built over the last...
AI revenue is right now a small number. Like
$2.6 billion.
For like someone like TCS have started to announce that. But I think going forward, AI revenue will become a bigger chunk of whatever they're getting right now. And then things will significantly change. Where they will become AI first, AI companies altogether.
Well, you heard it first on front page by Ajay Rag. He believes 3 to 5 years is where Indian IT will look very, very different. Well,
Yeah.
we'll
I
hold
hope
you to
5
it.
to 10.
Suddenly, now you want to change. Huh?
I never know.
Okay. This one was quite interesting. You and I spoke about this. This was the TCS AGM, right? 500,000 human employees alongside 500,000 AI agents. That announcement, if you remember,
Chandrasekhar, yeah.
sent a lot of shockwaves. And this is expected by 2029. Now, 23,000 jobs cut in fiscal year 26. Now, AI revenue, as I just mentioned, is $2.5 billion or thereabouts. So, when AI agents are doing work that previously required human billing hours, we just talked about that some time back. But elaborate on this, Ajay. What does Indian IT's revenue model actually look like, let's say in 5 years? What is your take on that? You're talking about, yes, Indian IT is different, but what would be the revenue look? What will that chunk look like?
Yeah, I mean, that is the $1 million question. Even senior executives in IT firms have been sort of, thinking about what will be the revenue model, what will be the revenue generators going forward. But one thing that is sure is that it won't come from the whole people, focused billing model. So now the whole AI revenue will come into picture. All these subscription-based AI platforms, like they will become something like that. Managed services is something that people can look at. Or, like outcome-based pricing that we spoke about in detail in the past. Like whatever revenue that you're generating or whatever will be based on the outcome that you provide, not just the number of people there you have.
Agreed.
So I think there'll be more accountability in whatever revenue generating. So more clarity in that sense. And AI orchestration, governance services, or domain-specific solutions built on AI, like BFSI focused or retail focused. So there'll be niche areas where you have the expertise, which is where the mid-tier IT firms will have an edge.
Yeah.
So and also consumption-based pricing for AI infrastructure, agents. So these are some of the points that I just noted. So these are the areas I feel like Indian IT firms can sort of tap into. We'll see who will win this race.
I'd like to add one more to whatever you just talked about, that long list.
Yeah.
Which is the fact that one of the biggest things that Indian IT has as an edge is 35 plus 40 years of that entire network, the trust they've built, etc. Do you not think, Ajay, that they would like to build on their future revenue model with that kind of, great legacy that they've built for so many years?
Absolutely, absolutely. That is where the whole, let's say, acquisition game come into picture, where you have this many years of experience.
Yes.
Now you can expand your expertise in particular areas because you already have a base, right?
Right.
You'll have a base in literally everything, BFSI, healthcare, retail, anything.
Yeah.
So now it's time for, like acquiring companies which are, doing well, which is what happened with Persistent Agarro, right? They want to have a specific capability, so they acquired a company. And one of these analysts have told me that, like going forward, it's all about inorganic acquisition, inorganic growth that we have to look into. Yeah, I mean, 40 years or 45 years of experience will actually matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But also, having said that, in the AI world, time is a very, difficult thing to understand. Like we heard about OpenAI for the first time, like 5 years ago?
5 years ago.
And where is it standing right now? Or Anthropic, less than 3 years? But where is it standing right now? So you never know what time is going to happen.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I fully agree with you. But the reason I probably said that also is, for a person of that, stature to make a statement like 500,000 human employees alongside 500,000 agents, it's a big, bold statement to make, and you're giving a timeline to it, which is by 2029. So I'm just coming from there. That means there is a very clear strategy in mind. You obviously don't need to reveal it to the entire population, but there is clarity of thought, at least. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, TCS chairman, he was talking about like how the whole workforce will be going forward.
Hence,
that I don't think he has mentioned there'll be significant layoffs. I mean, obviously there'll be layoffs.
I'm not talking just so much from the layoff point of view.
It's just that AI agents and human employees will start coexisting together.
But the model, right? That means the revenue model must be very clear in one's mind. That okay, if I'm deploying this, because it's not going to come cheap, right? You got to train that many agents. You got to have all that kind of integration taking place, etc., etc. So it's going to come at a cost.
Yeah, like you said, it's a very bold statement to make, but it's a very clear, very transparent thing to say.
Right.
Which is very, very nice for industries to have a clear picture of what's going to happen from here.
In a way, they're telegraphing that, okay, in another maybe 4-5 years, the revenue model will look very different.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah, you should start becoming an AI agent someday.
You're cynical and you're looking at becoming an AI agent. Well done, Ajay.
Yeah.
Okay, finally, this was the closing line of your article and I thought it was very well written. So I'm using it for the summation of our discussion.
Yeah.
And I quote Ajay, whether the geography of those contracts looks materially different in 5 years' time will be the actual measure of whether this diversification push is structural or seasonal. So the question I have to ask you is this: what would structure actually look like according to you, Ajay? And what is your honest read on which one truly this is? Is it structural? Is it geographical? Is it material? Is it anything else?
Yeah, so like you said, the point, the scenario would be that, like in Indian IT firms will sort of reduce the exposure to just one market like US, and other markets like Europe or Japan or Middle East will become bigger contributor to the revenues. But when you ask me if it's structural or seasonal, it's mostly seasonal at this point because of the whole things we spoke about, the whole uncertainties and policy issues and all. But I think this will significantly change where once these markets, start growing great revenues for these IT firms, they will have a better sense of, which market to tap into, which was scenario. So I think it's going good so far. I think right now it's too early to say, but I think right now it's very seasonal.
November are the midterms.
Yeah.
We all know, as far as the United States are concerned, we all know how the sentiment has been there. You never know. Maybe the big Indian IT firms are quietly waiting and watching and trying to understand how that might just change the entire situation.
Yeah.
Very, very possible.
Yeah, I mean, when the Accenture results came, it was very much obvious, right? I mean, what can we expect from Indian IT results? So it's very hard to give an optimistic view on what's going to happen for Indian IT firms in the coming months.
Correct.
But because whatever has happened to the Accenture, but we'll see. I mean.
Also another thing, and I like to say this, Ajay, I don't know if you agree with me, and this is how I would probably like to sum it up, is the fact that Indian IT has been genuinely an engine as far as the Indian economy is concerned. So let's not shy away from that fact.
Yeah.
Because yes, right now they're going through troubled waters, it's a transition, etc., all of that. Having said all of that, they have also been very strong contributors to the entire economy. So let's be honest, they're not people who are like greenhorns who have just come to the game right now and they're trying to wonder what's going on. I'm pretty sure there would be very clear understanding in terms of how they want to move in the future. What is your take on that? I think we'll sum it up on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not like, we know US market for a very long time and US market know the Indian market. They also do.
Right.
So yeah, let's see. I mean, how it's going to happen. But whatever that is happening right now, it's great that the industry is moving to diversifying their revenue,
which is good,
channels. And US as a market, they will also have their thought process, sort of developing right now, and what should they do with the Indian IT firms, and not just Indian IT firms, broader IT industry going forward.
I agree.
Yeah, but I think we can sum it up in a wait and watch situation. What's going to happen?
Makes sense. Well, there you have it. Thank you so much, Ajay, for being on front page, and I'll love to invite you again and again. Please keep writing these articles because it's definitely very thought-provoking. Thank you so much. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Ajay Rag, our tech journalist at AIM, has raised a few questions. The fact that will Indian IT be able to replace its entire revenue model, or for that matter, its biggest customer? Well, seems unlikely. At this given point in time, it is, of course, made sure that it is a good push in the right direction of diversification, which I think in many cases is just a healthy thing to do as a business model is concerned. Indian IT seems to be going ahead and acquiring. It is making a deeper penetration in Europe. It wants to do the same with Japan and the Gulf. The US seems to be right now in a wait and watch sort of a situation. A lot of things are constantly in a state of flux as far as the United States policies are concerned. Moving forward, the geopolitical unrest, etc., etc. So, the Indian IT seems to be right now doubling down and trying to ensure that it keeps the ship quite stable. What are your thoughts? Please do let us know in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM.
AI prototypes are everywhere, but very few professionals know how to deploy AI where businesses actually operate. Introducing the Certified Forward Deployed AI Specialist by Adasi, a certification designed for the new generation of AI professionals who can bridge technology, deployment, operations, and business execution in real-world enterprise environments. Because modern AI success is no longer just building models. It's about making AI work inside production systems, customer workflows, and enterprise operations. The future belongs to engineers who can take AI from demo to deployment. This certification is ideal for AI engineers, solutions architects, technical consultants, Gen AI practitioners, developers who want to move beyond experimentation and deploy AI systems that create measurable business impact. The future of AI belongs to professionals who can take intelligence from concept to real-world execution.
There are a lot of models available on Amazon. You can use any model. For this particular workshop, I'll go with Llama 3. It's the simplest, easiest, and in terms of cost, no problem. But yes, if you are an organization, you want to go and work, you can use Anthropic's Claude model. You can use any of these models. So this is the 2ML file. And what you need, all of you, is you can see there is a Docker file also created. There is a Pi project created. There is requirement, and this is the environment. So just this is the app where you have a Pi cache. So this is your cache. Init.py will not have anything, that is for initialization. This is your actual agent script. And then here you have got a README, which you can use automatically running in Docker, and these things come automatically. You can click on data store. You can click on the tool name. So this is tool 1. It's a data store. You can give the description. Now I'm going with the lowest score in terms of grounding. So we have low confidence that the response is grounded.
AI prototypes are everywhere, but very few professionals know how to deploy AI where businesses actually operate. Introducing the Certified Forward Deployed AI Specialist by Adasi, a certification designed for the new generation of AI professionals who can bridge technology, deployment, operations, and business execution in real-world enterprise environments. Because modern AI success is no longer just building models. It's about making AI work inside production systems, customer workflows, and enterprise operations. The future belongs to engineers who can take AI from demo to deployment. This certification is ideal for AI engineers, solutions architects, technical consultants, Gen AI practitioners, developers who want to move beyond experimentation and deploy AI systems that create measurable business impact. The future of AI belongs to professionals who can take intelligence from concept to real-world execution.
There are a lot of models available on Amazon. You can use any model. For this particular workshop, I'll go with Llama 3. It's the simplest, easiest, and in terms of cost, no problem. But yes, if you are an organization, you want to go and work, you can use Anthropic's Claude model. You can use any of these models. So this is the 2ml file. And what you need, all of you, is you can see there is a Docker file also created. There is a Py project created. There is requirement, and this is the environment. So just this is the app where you have a Py cache. So this is your cache. Init.py will not have anything, that is for initialization. This is your actual agent script. And then here you have got a README, which you can use automatically running in Docker, and these things come automatically.
You can click on data store. You can click on the tool name. So this is tool 1. It's a data store. You can give the description. Now I'm going with the lowest score in terms of grounding. So we have low confidence that the response is grounded.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening. I'm Antara and you're watching Point Break. 2 weeks ago, something happened that most people outside the AI industry barely noticed. Anthropic's Mythos preview model was withdrawn following a US government directive. It was then partially restored, but only to a small group of approved organizations. Around the same time, OpenAI introduced GPT 5.6 through a phased rollout involving a limited set of vetted partners. And underneath all of that, a much bigger story was unfolding. The US government is increasingly treating access to frontier AI the way it once treated access to nuclear technology, as a strategic asset, as a weapon, as something that is too important to let the world use freely. The question that we are asking in today's episode is this: are America's AI export controls protecting its lead, or are they accelerating the very competition that they are trying to prevent? I'm Antara, this is Point Break. Let's get right into it. I have with me three guests today, three very different lenses on the same question. Nandagopal P is the CEO of Asymmetry, a technology company he has built by scaling over 50 businesses across agri-tech, healthcare, and enterprise software. He's a TEDx speaker, a fractional CTO to multiple startups, and somebody who has spoken on data sovereignty at Global Family Office Investment Summit in Lake Como. He understands what it means when access to technology is not guaranteed. Nandagopal, welcome to Point Break. On to our second guest, Amrit Raj, who is the co-founder of Future Mind Institute and Women in Product India. He works daily with founders building the next generation of AI-first companies in India and across Southeast Asia as well. He understands what the access question means from the perspective of people actually building products on top of these models. Amrit, it's a pleasure to have you back on Point Break with us. And Dinesh Jotwani, who is our third guest, is the co-managing partner of Jotwani Associates, a multi-specialty law firm with over 40 advocates and professionals. He has nearly 30 years of legal practice spanning Fortune 100 companies, multinationals, startups, and of course, individuals as well. He holds 2 US patents related to e-discovery processes. He teaches cybersecurity patents and intellectual property at Delhi University, IIT Delhi, Amity, and Symbiosis. And he has seen from the legal front line how technology policy and intellectual property interact at a global scale. Dinesh, a very warm welcome to you on Point Break.
Thank you. Thank you, Antara.
With that, gentlemen, let's start with the events themselves, because I think a lot of people heard the news and moved on from without really sitting with what it means. Anthropic's Mythos preview, which is one of the most capable frontier AI models available, was withdrawn following a US government directive, and then it was selectively restored, but only to a handful of organizations. OpenAI's GPT 5.6 is being rolled out through vetted partners and not openly. That is not, I believe, a company decision. This is, a government exercising control over who gets, to access powerful AI. So, Dinesh, my first question is to you. From a legal and intellectual property perspective, what is actually happening here when a government directs a private company to restrict access to its own product? What legal framework does that sit within? Is this trade law? Is this national security law, export control? How would you characterize it?
See, as far as the US export laws are concerned, they have been in place from decades.
Right.
I have been personally involved in some of the technology issues, export issues, and they were always there. There was controls, there were representations, there were exemptions. That used to happen always. But this time, a sudden blackout that happened, I would call it a blackout, because suddenly these two services by Anthropics were withdrawn, and suddenly we saw this government order. And the official reason was, of course, it poses a cybersecurity threat, especially from China. It had those jailbreak code where you could actually go and get the information, or even put in a cybersecurity or put in a code that would reveal a lot of information to the hacker. So official reason was that, and of course, if that was a true reason, that would have been appreciated. The only thing is, there is a lot of politics that is going on between Anthropic and Washington at this point of time. And we have to be mindful of that. Most of the AI solutions or engines that are there, these problems are always there. The amount of massive data, the tokenization that these two applications did was in massively in millions of tokens that would be released in output or in the context that you would use in an AI. Right. So keeping that in view, I think the US government wanted, I mean, we cannot say what was the reason, but there is something, it is presumed that they are getting much more stronger than even the governments. They have much more information. They know about the people much more. There's a data protection, there's data privacy issues that would come. Yeah. And massively, these applications would be ahead of even US government intelligence, they would say. So there is, of course, a politics that is going on, because if there is a private organization that is able to process data quickly, know about people quickly across the globe, and then there is a US government that's supposed to be the most powerful country in the world. So that tussle will remain for a while. So we should see it in that context. And of course, there are advantages and there are disadvantages for the US government itself in bringing out that order. We know if you restrict technology, you restrict innovations also, and you have a big this government has a big competitor.
Absolutely.
So so these are some competition issues, but from legal perspective, I think Washington had the power to exercise it, and they tried to do it, and then they withdrew a little bit, made the notification a little milder, giving some exceptions to some organizations. So that will keep on happening. But at this point of time, I think from countries like India, where there is a lot of ecosystem for AI to grow, we have to be very careful in depending on the foreign AI technologies. So that's from legal perspective, I would like to say that we have to be cautious about it. Yeah.
Understood, Dinesh, and thank you for answering that, with so much clarity. Amrit, my next question is to you. You work with founders building on top of these models every single day, right? When access to a frontier model, say, is restricted overnight, what does that actually mean for a startup that has built its entire product on it? What is the practical damage that we are talking about?
Yeah, thank you, Antara, for the question. So honestly speaking, as a startup, generally we don't build on the frontier models, right? I'm talking about the Mythos 5 and Fable 5, right? They got blocked within 3 days of its launch. And GPT 5.6 is being slowly rolled out on a vetted basis, right?
Correct.
So from a starter's perspective, we don't build on the frontier model from the day one itself, because number one, they are costly. It takes time to incorporate it within our product and within our apps. So, but what this type of blockade creates is a distrust, right? Today they are blocking the frontier models. What stops them from blocking the lower end models as well, right? What would I do then? So I cannot be confident enough to use these models. And in product industry or in service industry, everything is about trust, right? My consumer doesn't care about what is being blocked or what is not being blocked. He just wants a consistent experience for himself, right? And it should not be hampered in any way. And once that gets disturbed, the trust which they have on me or my product, that is distorted. And gaining trust is a long-term process, right? I have been working in the industry for 5 years, 10 years. I gain the trust slowly. And one such event can distort everything and bring me back to zero. So this is the problem we are facing. It is not per se, the frontier model getting blocked, but the trust deficit which these kind of actions create. That is the problem for us.
Understood, Amrit. And certainly it does make sense. In fact, US suddenly putting a ban on the model, it almost seems like the country is operating on its whims and fancies. Thank you for that, Amrit. Nandgopal, my questions to you now. You have built companies, and you've advised startups across India. When you heard about the Mythos restriction, what was your first thought? What was your gut reaction? Not the geopolitical analysis, but your gut reaction to that particular news.
Sure. Good question. So I always was waiting for this time where these countries are going to block frontier models, because...
Nandgopal, am I audible?
Yes. Am I audible to you?
Yes, now you are.
Perfect. So yeah. I was saying that is a really good question. And I was always expecting these countries to block these frontier models one day or the other, because intelligence has been scaling at this rapid pace, which we could not have imagined 2 years prior, right? Now, two sides to this. One is using these AI models within the applications that we're building, like Amrit said, where we don't really go for frontier models initially because they cost really high. But on the other end, we are also using these models today to build the software themselves.
Correct.
Now, when Fable 5 came in, I got most of my team to start using it, but they just blocked it the next day. Now, what happens is it limits our capability to build applications compared to what somebody in the US can build. Right now, while the models available today can build most of basic software, the more complex the problem becomes, you'd need higher intelligence to solve those. And that gives the companies there an upper hand to build something that we cannot today with, the model limitations that we have, which I think is going to get more and more challenging as these models get more and more intelligent, and if they start keeping restrictions on what other countries can use.
Certainly, Nandgopal. All right, Amrit, my next question is to you. Would you say that America is accidentally helping Quen or DeepSeek or any other alternative gain market share? Because, if a founder cannot reliably access a US model, they will definitely look elsewhere, right? And elsewhere is, especially in today's day, increasingly getting very good. So what is your take on that?
Yes, 100%, Andra. If these blockages keep on happening, right, people will start looking for alternatives. And already you can see, right, there are, talks about building a sovereign AI models, and number two, using open source AI models, right? And it is a, what should I say, disadvantage for US companies as well, because all these companies want all the founders to, or, all the companies to build on top of their models, because that will create a dependency, and that is a recurring source of revenue for them. Once they start blocking and people start, exploring other, infrastructure layers, right? What happens is the leverage is lost for these US companies. And Indian companies, as I was telling you, right, they are very good at working with what we get. And we are going to, build on top of that. And that provides a way to Chinese companies to get into the market and, because as you already said, right, they are cheaper, and, the only problem with them is they are not reliable. But yeah, if we start working with them, give it more time, right?
Yeah.
We would eventually figure out a way to make them more reliable as well. And number 2 point, what happens is the more people... Hi, Andra. Am I audible now? I guess I got...
Yeah, Amrit, I think you got cut off a little. If you could just repeat your previous sentence once.
Perfect. Yeah. So yeah, now the second point is, like, the more people use your model, right, the more feedback you start getting on that. So US companies are losing on all that feedback and making them better. So that is also one point we need to consider. So yes, 100% people have started exploring other models. People have started, talking about using open source models. People have started talking about building sovereign models. People have started talking about using Chinese model. And that will be a very big disadvantage for these US companies, because, customers are going to go away, and that is going to cause them a loss in revenue.
Understood. Nandgopal, if you would like to add on to that.
Absolutely. I totally agree with Amrit here. It opens up commercial gates to a lot of other models across countries like China and India, where we would start, the companies would start using these frontier models of these countries. But on the other side, technically, when you look at it, China, for example, a lot of their models are cheaper because they use this technology called distillation, where what they do is they use the frontier US models to train their models, like a teacher and a student, so that they have to use very less compute to make these intelligent models more smarter. So once US starts restricting these models, China would have to figure out how to solve this problem, where they would have to sort of use more compute and train these models from scratch. So that's something these US companies are also worried about, because what China does is, say, let's assume the Mythos model comes in, Quen is going to use the Mythos model, use that as the teacher to train their model, make it get smarter with way less compute than they would otherwise have to do. So I think that would be a challenge to a lot of these Chinese companies.
Yeah, and 2 days back only, Anthropic said Alibaba has created 25,000 fake accounts, and they are distilling their models.
Exactly.
So I guess in a way they are trying to restrict that as well. Very well said, Nandagopal.
Absolutely. Nandagopal, in fact, building on that, work across agri-tech and healthcare, right? Sectors with real sensitivity around data and sovereignty. Would you say that the availability of Chinese open-weight models like DeepSeek has already changed the conversations in the rooms that you're in? Would you say that the people around you are seriously considering them?
Definitely. Especially not just in terms of data security with these open weight models, but also the cost. right? They are just the fraction of a cost of what these US models would be. And like Amrit earlier mentioned, we don't really have to have the most intelligent models to solve most challenges. We need the most efficient models that are smart enough, but most importantly, are efficient and cheaper. Because what matters for these companies, especially startups, is to manage the cost that these AI agentic systems are, getting them to. So definitely, there is a major leaning towards these Chinese models now that they have crossed these barriers of intelligence that can make them useful in most enterprise settings.
Understood, Nath.
Can I add something on this point?
Yes, please. Absolutely.
Okay, so this is not only saying that leveraging it, we'll be able to get Chinese products and Chinese solutions, but also from innovation. I mean, I'm talking from innovation perspective. Most of these models would develop. It's not that they are in the market, and so if you just cut out the foreign access and there are startups and there are innovative companies across the world who would like to use it, and they are restricted from using this. I would say this restricts the innovation also. I'm a patent attorney also, as you introduced me. So a lot of patents on whatever is built on platforms like Google and Microsoft are done in India itself. A lot of innovation takes place. And why this innovation it takes place in India is we have access to US platforms and we work on top of that. We make the features better. We have much more reliability because of the Indian employees or Indian workers. Now, what has happened is we have completely restricted these two AI frontiers. So from innovation perspective, we will lose. I mean, the US will lose. And ultimately, the loss will be of these companies and the US government because it becomes less innovative, these kind of models.
Dinesh, in fact, I was actually coming to that, from a trade and IP law perspective, there is precedent here, right? All right, Dinesh, from a trade and IP law perspective, there, I would say a sort of a precedent here, right? When America restricted semiconductor exports to China, China accelerated its own chip development. Would you say that AI export controls likely to produce the same outcome? And would you say that that is or could be a strategic miscalculation? Dinesh.
Yeah, your question reminds me of Nandan Nilekani's viewpoint that India should focus on application part of AIs. These kind of restrictions will, of course, force India also and many other countries to have their own frontier models, develop our own frontier models. And sometimes, like you gave an example of semiconductor, sometimes these restrictions which US government has played can go against them also. As somebody pointed out, it can happen that the Chinese AI models can be more successful than the US one because people need stability. The other argument that I was just telling you was about innovation itself.
Correct.
So the more restrictions there are, the more people, innovate. The definition of innovation itself is that, you want to achieve something, you have a challenge, and if you are restricted, there is going to be much, much more innovation in that field. And we may come out with solutions which are cheaper, which are easier, which are accessible to the global needs, and which are accurate also. AI needs a lot of accuracy.
Correct.
So what is happening globally right now, we can't predict, but I'm talking about India as a country,
right.
And I do support a lot of startups in this area. So these startups are going to come on their own solutions, not only from app perspective, but also developing a frontier model perspective, and also from competing with US and Chinese AI models.
Right.
So let's not be too much disappointed by this. I think the US government will learn on its own. It's a mistake if you restrict these technologies, because it is going to bring up many more startups in countries like India, where there is a very talented workforce, very focused workforce, and we can work and bring these models also. I do understand that it requires investment. If you come out with an application on an AI model, it's easier. You can commercialize it quickly, but creating an AI model itself requires an investment. So this is where the government of India will also have to play a role. They have a startup cell. And I'm hoping that the government of India would support these startups in creating its own innovation in AI models. So let's hope that this kind of a challenge is taken up by Indian startup ecosystem, and we are able to deliver and live up to that.
Certainly.
I would like to add over here.
Yes, please.
Indians are known for making, world-class product at a comparable rate. For example, we were able to launch Mangalyaan, right? ISRO is launching rockets at a fraction of cost, which NASA does. So as Dinesh sir rightly said, right, whenever you put restrictions, people start innovating. And we are at a stage when we should start building sovereign models, because I have a lot of, my friends working in this space, right? Be it Servam AI, be it Socket Lab AI, and, other frontier labs who are building for sovereign AI. And there's one more national security angle to this, right? If you remember, during 1999 war, the US government, did not provide India the GPS data for, locating the Pakistani troops, right? And today's context, if you see, AI has been actively used in Iran-US wars. So going forward, right, AI is going to be a crucial from the perspective of a national security and defense perspective, right? And in that context, having a sovereign model it's of utmost importance for us. And as Dinesh sir said, right, Indian government should start, they're actively supporting, but the support needs to be more. And from the investment perspective, as I said, we Indians are known to make, best product at a fraction of the cost, like ISRO does with rockets. So we are hoping that happens in the field of AI.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Amrit, and thank you for that, Dinesh. Let's now bring this specifically to India, right? Because India sits in, I would say, a complicated position here. In January 2025, the Biden administration's AI diffusion rule placed India in a middle tier. Neither a close US ally with unrestricted access, nor an adversary under embargo, but somewhere in between. It was hanging in balance there. The rule capped tier 2 countries at roughly, I remember, 50,000 advanced GPUs in total imposed through 2027. Now, India is a strategic partner, but it is not a trusted partner in a way Japan or the UK is, for that matter. I think that gap matters, right? So, Nandgopal, my question is to you. Has the Mythos restriction strengthened the case for sovereign AI efforts like Sarvam AI, Bharat Gen, and emerging Indian frontier AI labs, or is that an overreaction to what is ultimately a temporary policy shift?
Great question. I really hope that it pushes Indian companies to move forward, especially with R&D, like Amrit and Mr. Dinesh rightly said. We need to focus on R&D and building these forefront technologies. We should not stop looking into the application side. That should keep going, but we have to definitely put more focus on research and development and building the right models within the country itself. Like Amrit said, now it is not just a question of enterprises and commercial benefit, but these models are making decisions on geopolitical scale, especially with war. Companies like Palantir are what is driving US in terms of defense and the military. And I see a lot of companies coming up in India as well in this domain. But it becomes increasingly necessary for a country like India to establish itself as a front runner in this space, especially with AI and especially also in the terms of developing the infrastructure for AI development. Because as we move forward, it not just becomes a question of money, but it becomes a question of power. And if we have to stay in the forefront, we have to push ourselves.
Very rightly said, Nandgopal. Amrit, here's the tension that I want to name here. India's AI startup ecosystem is, largely built on top of American models. That is dependency. And this week showed that dependency has a switch. How should Indian founders be thinking about that right now? Amrit.
Yeah, from the Indian founders' perspective, we should start building products which are model agnostic. By this, what I mean is, if you change the model, the output don't change much, or the experience of the product doesn't change much.
Okay.
So we should design our product, from the idea stage itself. It should be designed in such a way, that it is model agnostic. Number one.
Okay.
Number two, we should start building on the open source models, right?
Okay.
Because all the use cases, as Nandgopal rightly said, right, they don't need a frontier model. And especially in the Indian scenario, right, we can go for the open source models like Llama or any other. Chinese we don't prefer because there's a lot of security concerns about data going out of India into China. So yeah, but you can start building over Llama and build over top of the open source model. That is the number 2 step which I would say should focus on. And number 3 is start building on top of sovereign Indian models like Sarvam AI is a good one, and they are doing some good work in this field, right? And specifically they are very good with the Indian languages, Indic language, if you see, right? Because the same input, if I give it Hindi, it consumes a lot of tokens when I use a foreign model, as compared to when I use a server model, it consumes less token. So for Indic languages, and if you see, India is a huge market, and part of that huge market is a lot of people speaking in Indian languages, be it Hindi, be it Tamil, Telugu or Marathi, right? Catering to them, we should start using all these Indian models like Sarvam AI, Socket Lab AI. There is also a very good model, right? And they are going to cost them less also, and they are going to cater to a much bigger audience. Why do you think Anthropic, OpenAI, all of them are setting centers into India? Because after US, India is one of the biggest market, right? Europe, there are a lot of restrictions, and after US, Europe, I would say before Europe only, India is the second biggest market. That is where they're all actually setting up, markets over here in India. And if Indian models, right, built by Sarvam and Socket are going to cost us less, they are going to able to, help us, service all the people talking into Indian languages. I would say, why not go with this thing? So these are the 3 steps I would say: build model agnostic, use open source models, and use Indian sovereign models. They might not be a frontier model, but they would be able to suffice, do the job for us.
Certainly. Self-reliance is the way forward, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah. Dinesh, India's IT companies, startups, enterprises have built significant capability on top of tools that are ultimately controlled by foreign governments. From a legal standpoint, what does that dependency really mean? Is there a contractual, regulatory, or intellectual property framework that sort of protects Indian users, or are they essentially at the mercy of US policy?
So the US companies, the foremost important thing for them is protecting their intellectual property rights. Okay. Whether they have a platform, whether they have a mark, whether they have any code, immediately it gets protected. So the ultimately it depends on resources. They have resources to carry on research and development for years and years and decades. So though India has a lot of talent, and personally, I told you I also hold 2 US patents myself. Though India is a very innovative country, we have a talent that can match anywhere in the world. But at the same time, as I mentioned, it's a question of intellectual property. Are we able to invest in that intellectual property rights or not? And ultimately, it comes to our resources. Can we sustain research? Will Government of India support research for 5 years? And mind you, when you innovate, there are failures. Out of 10, maybe 8 of these inventions may fail, but the 2 of them which will survive may result in your AI model being used by the rest of the world. It can happen so. And our engineers can develop things which are much cheaper cost than than you can get from China or US models. So I would ultimately mention that there has to be a investment. There has to be a tolerance for failure. Failure should not look like, you once failed, you should be out. No. And then from intellectual property rights perspective, if you have developed a new AI frontier model, go and protect it all across the world. And it is expensive. As a lawyer, I can tell you it is very expensive to protect your innovation across the world. In India, you can still do it. But we are talking about protecting in each and every country where your AI model is being used. As I say, the foreign companies do it in India. The first thing they do, they come out with an invention, they haven't even published it, they would file a patent in India and in rest of the world. So if there is an AI model or an AI feature or an AI invention, they will file it in US and immediately in the rest of the world. So do we have those pockets? Will the government of India support that? Is a big challenge for us. It is easier saying that India has talent. Of course, nobody denies that. No one denies we have a talented workforce. But do we have resources? Do we appreciate failures? Okay. Do we see long term that this product is going to be successful after 4 or 5 years? I remember I used to attend some meetings of a startup that was a US based, and they spent like months deciding on whether it's the strategy part of it. Okay. Can you have Indian workforce just discussing things, whether it will be successful 5 years, how much is a big market, who it will cater to, okay, pricing of the same. They haven't even started. The strategizing is taking months. So that means there are resources who are discussing this for months. What are the legal issues? Which database the AI is going to take information from? What are the data sets in India present? Are they open source? So how can they tackle the open source? So I'm talking from legal perspective again.
Yes.
But there needs to be investment. At the end of the day, Tara, it looks good, we are talented, but at the end of the day, we need government support. We need tolerance for failures.
Yes.
We need tolerance and strategizing. And first of all, I in Indian companies, I don't find the strategizing or the brainstorming sessions, as they say, looking at the product, whether it will be successful in the market or not, and involving a patent attorney at the beginning. I mean, that's very important. I've seen. I have a computer science background myself, so I know the moment you have a new feature, you protect it as involving lawyers at the first stage itself.
Okay.
So again, from legal perspective, you have to change your mindset.
Right.
Okay, that mindset, the resources, and we have a potential. I may not necessarily always agree with Nandan Nilekani's statement that let's focus on app part of it, but let's focus on research part of it is also essential for India to win this game in AI finally.
There's one more big challenge also. If you see filing a patent and getting a trademark, right? All these things are very challenging, and that involves a lot of red tape and a lot of waiting. Like we have filed for a trademark, it has been, more than 1.5 years, and, it is just, not coming through. And I know many of my founder friends, okay, they build crazy good technology, okay. One of my friend has built a, lamp for blind people, which reads and translates into audio file. Okay. So that's a very good product, and apparently they got a patent after 3 years of application.
3 years.
So there's these things, and 3 years is a huge amount of time if you see from the AI perspective, right? By the time you get patent, someone would have copied and get ahead with that. So that is also one big challenge, I would say, in the Indian ecosystem. Adding to the next point.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. That's another challenge, not only resources, but the legal system itself. Okay. If you want innovation to thrive, if you want economy to thrive, there has to be a very strong legal system. I am a part of this legal system. So I know exactly what needs to change. And I really appreciate for any business to thrive, any new products to come, any new innovation to come into the market and hit it publicly, not only in India, abroad. You need a strong legal system at the end of the day. I could see that there was a time when patents were being granted on time within 1 year, but suddenly some judgment came and they say, no, it has to be only granted by certain controllers, patent controllers. That prohibited, again, we are back to 3 years and 4 years of granting of patent. So the government had an intention, then the High Court intervened, then there is an appeal that is pending. So it's a complex legal web that we need to, that is another challenge, and that we need to take care of for us to be competitive globally.
Certainly.
Certainly.
Just to add on to both of them, Antara, see, every other billion-dollar company in San Francisco is being built by engineers in Bangalore and Hyderabad. And we ourselves are building for a lot of companies across UK, Europe, and US. But we want the best of talent in India to be building for Indian companies.
Absolutely.
And like both of them said, if investments comes in, I think the talent is willing to build. So I think we just need to provide them.
Self-reliance again is the way forward. After all.
And as Nandagopal said, right, a lot of these YC companies, all the founders are in India and all of them are registered in SF. So I just wonder, they have offices in HSR layout. And I was thinking, when I look at their LinkedIn, it is like, registered in SF. So basically, US VCs are funding Indian companies, Indian people to build for US. So that is very strange, I find.
Absolutely.
We should correct
Certainly. Certainly. I want to bring in a voice that has sort of shaped India, how India thinks about it. And we were just speaking about him, right? Just 2 days ago at Infosys 45th annual general meeting, Nandan Nilekani said, and I want to quote him here directly, AI will not replace a company like ours. It will amplify those who move with purpose and adapt with speed. Now, his broader argument has been that India's edge lies in application, in using AI, not in building frontier models like you were just pointing out. So in deploying intelligence, not in manufacturing it. Now that by itself is a compelling thesis, but it rests on a critical assumption that access to frontier intelligence, it remains open. Amrit, and this is my question to you. Does Nandan Nilekani's application-first AI thesis still hold if access to frontier intelligence can, disappear overnight? Because this week, for a brief period, it did disappear, right? So what does that do to the strategy?
So I would say Nandan Nilekani sir has been very optimistic. Okay, but to put it into perspective, let me give you a few examples. So Anthropic released few skills for finance. Okay, so basically, it could do your financial analysis, it could do, do your account books, right? Do everything, right? They release skills, and what happened is all the financial stocks across US went down, and all these Indian companies, if you see, right, TCS, Wipros, all of them are serving big banks like, let's say, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, and Chase. Okay, they are back offices of these Indian IT firms. So what happens is when Anthropic releases these skills, right, which they could, and these companies have actively adopted them in production.
Amrit, I'm so sorry, I'll have to interrupt you there. Your voice was breaking a little bit.
Okay. So now what happens is the work which was coming to the Indian company. Am I clear?
Yeah. Now you're audible. Yes.
Perfect. So once Anthropic released these skills in finance, right? What happened is JP Morgan and Chase, Wells Fargo, right? All these companies started adopting them at the production level. And all these Indian companies, right? Infosys, Wipro, TCS, all these are back offices of, all these banks only, banking services only. All the work which was being outsourced to these Indian companies, Infosys, TCS, Wipro, is being done by the Anthropic at production level in US only. So what is happening is, over a period of time, these outsourced work will stop coming to Indian if these Indian IT companies, don't innovate, as we were discussing. And you would see this is pretty much, evident from the performance of the IT stock market, right? If you see, IT stock market has been falling continuously, right? We might see profits on top of it, but yeah, eventually if you see, right, because we are into training and a lot of our friends are working into IT companies, the adoption has been slow. Right? People have, like, in the last 6 months, I would say they have started increasing the adoption, but over the period of, 2025, 2026, the adoption was very slow. Now they have woken up and, they have started actively, building agents, incorporating all these tools, right? Enterprise access to AI tools was not there, right? In many of the big companies and many of the companies which I go for AI training also, right? They're very hesitant to invest into enterprise, like 2,000 rupees or let's say $20, thing. When I tell them to invest upfront, they're very skeptical about it, whether they'll be able to use it or not, right? But they are, not able to understand that this $20 plan is going to get them, 5 lakh or 10 lakh rupees of work done. And the capability builds over time, not at once, right? We need to provide them tools, and so that they start using it. They will get good at using these tools at 3 months and 6 months period of time. So Indian companies, the adoption has been slow. Now they have, started waking up in 2026. I would say for the last 3 months and 6 months, they have been actively doing it. But throughout 2025, whoever I was talking to, they were like, yeah, it is there, but it will not affect my job, right? There is a lot of time to get adopted to it. And, all this talking about, the big tech companies of India, all the works which was being outsourced to Indian companies, now it's going to be getting done in US itself by all this new features getting released by Anthropic. So we have to be very cautious unless and until we rework on our products, unless until we rework on our workflows, and unless until we start innovating with the services, incorporate AI into the services and provide some innovative solutions to these US companies. If we don't do that, we are going to be in, a lot of danger, and, we are going to see a lot of bloodbath in the job market.
Absolutely.
I totally agree with Amrit here, because people are delusionally optimistic today. And I hate the comparison of people given about calculators and accountants. A calculator did not think and make decisions. AI today does, right? And today I am about to hire a new engineer. I'm thinking whether should I hire an engineer or take a $200 subscription. That is how the founders and entrepreneurs are thinking today. So it's definitely making a shift, and I think we should be prepared for it.
Startups are actively adopting AI. If you see, startups are actively giving their employees all the Claude Max access. Like me as a company, we also have a very active policy. You have to start using AI tools. I'm on a $200 plan, right? My co-founder is on a $200 plan, but all my employees are on a business plan, right? So we, as a matter of fact, make it as a policy, and all the startups are doing it. But adoption at an enterprise or a big MNC, right? It is a layered process. Where they're very skeptical about their data as well. Data privacy also is a big concern when it comes to big MNCs, right? Whether they can give access to it or not, right? Who all can give access to, right? So that is also an added challenge, which I would say it exists in the Indian ecosystem and Indian mindset as well.
Absolutely.
Gentlemen,
yes.
Can I just quickly add
please
to the job market part? And I'm talking about now the job market for lawyers. So I can see in India a lot of legal work is done by AI. So there are companies and startups coming which will draft your contracts, will make a Supreme Court, you call it SLP, specially petitions. You can make it. You can make trademark applications. You can make patent applications. So there's lot variety of jobs will go to the younger people like me who have just started using AI. I would advise all lawyers if they want to be in the market. So as you rightly mentioned, we have 40 lawyers, and I think the younger generation lawyers are giving output so quickly, sometimes wrong, of course. And sometimes they get a bashing from the judge also, this is a wrong judgment quoted. I know they need to re-verify a lot of things, but I think the speed at which the legal work is going to the AI, from contract drafting to patent drafting to trademark filing and everything, is going to change a lot of in the legal job market also in future.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so we are going to be impacted too.
Absolutely. I mean, human intervention, of course, is required, but at the end of the day, and I keep saying this in almost every other episode, that, we need to, as a society as well, we need to start walking with AI instead of, walking behind it. Gentlemen, in the interest of time, we'll have to wrap this segment, but, one last point before I let you go. 5 years from now, what matters more, the smartest model or guaranteed access to intelligence? And what do you think? Which countries will have got that answer right? And this is, of course, a question to all the three of you.
Can I answer first?
Absolutely.
I think I need both. Okay. I need stability in my solutions that are happening.
Yes.
And of course, I need accuracy also. I need smart solutions also. So I don't think so I can avoid either of them in next 5 years. Is going to improve. So if I see some companies, some AI models that are being restricted, I will not choose them at this point of time. I will not get used to them.
Understood.
So because both of these points are important from legal perspective.
Thank you for that very honest perspective, Dinesh. In fact, Amrit, what I want to understand from you is, the founders that you back and advise are building the companies that will define, the next decade. What is that one thing that you're telling every one of them right now about how to navigate this access risk?
The only thing which we tell is, build model agnostic and use open source. That is the number one condition. And number two is all these frontier models are very costly also. And Indian companies, right, we are, we want to be very cost optimized. So ideally we try to build on, this thing at a lower tier model, right? Yeah. And we keep on experimenting. We keep on doing R&D on the frontier models. But yeah, like if you are building in the Indian ecosystem, what we want is, if you're building in the ecosystem, what we want is, build model agnostic. Make sure the experience doesn't get, distorted because of changing models. And number two is start building on open source models. And number three is, focusing on wherever we can incorporate sovereign AI. Because these Indian companies are doing some great job, as I was discussing, right? Server AI, Socket AI, and all these guys. So yeah, these are the three things which we, focus on.
Understood, Amrit. Nandagopal, my one last question to you is, India has, I believe, 38,000 GPUs in India AI Mission's national compute pool. So the US-India trade understanding has sort of offered some preferential treatment. Would you say that India is on the right side of this transition, or are we still more dependent than we admit?
We definitely are dependent, but like I said earlier, I hope that we make amendments so that we are resourceful within ourselves. We invest more into compute and infrastructure so that the companies within India like Sarvam can build. All the startups are provided the right resources which can catapult them into building the right set of technology. Because like we discussed, we have the talent. It's just a matter of helping them do what they can, right?
Right. Absolutely, Nandagopal. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, and whoever is tuned in right now, what this conversation has made clear is that we are sort of at an inflection point. For the last decade, access to AI has largely been open. The models were available, the APIs were cheap, and the assumption was that the infrastructure of intelligence would be a commons. That assumption by itself is now being tested, and the answer is not yet clear. What is clear is this, that countries and companies that have built their AI futures entirely on dependency, on the assumption that access will, always be there, are now facing a question that they were not prepared for. The question is not whether to pursue sovereignty. The question is how fast and at what cost really. And for India, that question is very urgent. So, gentlemen, thank you for coming on Point Break. This has been a fascinating conversation. And for viewers who are tuned in, thank you for watching. Do stay tuned. We'll see you again next episode.